Hello and welcome to the kitchen design component of our webinar series. My name is Zoltán Tóth. Over here is, as always, our resident architect, Mr. Illés Pap.
Hi there.
This is the third installment of our Introduction to Interior Design in Archlight webinar series. So far we looked at the basic feature set and how to handle the software in order to get stunning results, and we also looked at how to create bathrooms, and that mainly covered quantity takeoff, styling and these kind of issues.
Yeah.
Today, however, we are going to look at how to create cabinetry items and worktops for kitchens, and also one of our favorite topics, how to get quantity takeoffs and data generated from your model. So as always, you are encouraged to ask your questions on the right-hand side of this window. So anything you want to ask your questions, and at the end we are going to devote a couple of minutes to look at the questions and find the answers for that. So Illés, can you tell me a couple of words about what kind of project we have at hand?
What we will use today is a simple project, just as we used to do this all along these sessions, which is actually based on a larger project. It's a project from one of our users, and we will use it as a basis for a kitchen design. And today's topic will be mostly about how you can generate furniture carcasses, like, you know, with all the furnishing with panels and wooden parts. We will show you how you can generate this content by simple, you know, base units.
Yes.
And also we will generate tall units, wall units. We will create a worktop, and we will, as you mentioned, we will create rendering at the end, and also an Excel file. So we will see how we can cover this thing in one step.
So let's look at these space planning elements one by one. So a couple of words before we start. This is one of my favorite topics in how to navigate between the 2D, 3D views and what the preset views are used for. So just a quick refresher, please tell us a couple of words about how that happens.
Well, actually, if you work with Archline, as we covered it previously, but it's a good reminder here, you will always start initially with a split view. What you have in front of you now is the 2D and the 3D developing themselves continuously. So whenever I change the 2D, I will see what happens in the 3D, and I can swap the two drawings by simply clicking here, and then see the content, they switch sides. And then if I click to the 2D and I use the same button here, this way I can switch sides again. Sometimes I will use the full screen, which is by default by this button here, and this way I can go back to the previous view. And there's a shortcut for that which works just as fine. It's F2, and that allows you to go and forth and back between the full screen view and the split screen view. So these are the things that I will use besides the regular zoom in, zoom out, and of course, you know, the panning the content.
So what do we do now?
Actually, this content is already having a few guidelines here. These guidelines will help us. They are not necessary at all. They are just visual clues for us now to see where we will work, these blue lines. So actually, I will start creating these furniture units here in this row, and then after we will expand this content. If you have Archline and you can see the interior ribbon, that's where you will find all these tools. And actually creating a unit is via this KBB menu, and this allows you to create a cabinet. This cabinet is a unit which is a base unit basically, but you can customize it and you can change it to anything else. And also the software comes with a built-in library of items. This is not the full list, this is just a quick list of items. So you can find something here and you can just pick it up and customize it. Sometimes that's the best, that's the you know, the quickest way of creating something. Sorry. But there's another way around, and this is where I will start now. In that case, Archline generates a dummy, which is a, you know, it's a starter set of a cabinet. And then you go to the first page, and this is actually a tray of possibilities that we will use during our session.
Pretty similar to the room maker, what we used in lesson
yes.
one. Actually.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. So you can go through these things. You don't have to set up everything here. You will always focus on the one that's necessary for the current furniture. Let's go through the basic settings. First things first. Of course, you need to set up the width, the depth, and the total height of this furniture. This here, these dashed lines. These are helpers to understand what changes and how that measurement, that value, that width and depth changes the item. If you change the depth, for example, and see I'm doing that, changing it 0.55. I'm working in meters, but you can change it to anything else. So if I change that and I click on update, and then the software updates the size, and now it's a little bit more shallow, and it's always from this point to this point. So it's the depth of the unit itself without the door.
Yes.
The door, based on our setting, will either extend the size or will not change the size of the full furniture, but that's a decision what we will choose when we add the door. It's a later session. So now we set up the width, the depth. We also set up the total height. I think this should be 0.85. You can change the carcass height as well, and you can change the space for legs. Even if you don't have real visual legs, it's advised to set this up. Later we can make these disappear if it's like, it's a wall mount base unit, and still we need that because the space will be used as a gap. Now, this lock is also something that I should talk about. It's locking the space for legs. That means later when you place this item on the drawing, you are able to stretch it sideways, backwards and forth, and you can even change its height. So if the leg height is fixed, then that means if you change the full height of the unit, only the top part will be changed. The legs won't stretch; they will keep their height.
It's fixed, so it's not that the whole model is going to be stretched. The leg is going to stay the same proportion as it is.
So it's like if the plinth size, the decoration gap size, is the most important for you, then you can lock it. You can at this phase you can say that, okay, this is what I will have to keep because all my units have to share the same leg height. Or if it's the other way around, if it's some sort of furniture where the unit size is the most important, then the leg can be stretched, then you can lock this. But by default, we keep this locked. This is the unit type. It's also important for two reasons. One reason is at the end, when we are finished with this kitchen design, we will make a quantity takeoff listing, an Excel file, a schedule. And in this schedule, the software will collect units into groups based on this setting. So base units will be in a group and wall units and so on. So this will be kind of a helper to digest that data. And on the other hand, when I'm placing the units, you will see pretty soon when I'm placing them on the ground, I mean on the ground floor of this floor plan, the software will listen to the unit type. It will check whether two units which I'm placing close to each other, are they the same unit? Are they sharing the same height? And if it's so, then it's matching them, how to snap them together. So it won't let them overlap each other. So I can't. It's
so they recognize the boundaries of each other.
Yeah, it's easier to work accurate. Yes. So I keep it as base unit, and then I go on. These values, we will work with them later, but it just makes no sense yet because there's no door to open. So we will come back to this place later. There's the second page, which is about the unit front. Now, in case of designing this kitchen, I will use this unit family. You can actually design your own unit fronts or own unit families. These are sets of items that the software will automatically select when you decide to have a front, whether it's a door, it can be a shelf, a drawer front. So in that case, the software will use this front. In our case, it will be this brown item. And also here you can set up what sort of handle you would like to see at the front of this unit. This is also a library built in the software. So if you go there and you go to the libraries and you type handle, Let's see what sort of handles we have here. These are the built-in handles in Archline.
Mm-hmm.
And also if you download objects, you can use those objects, and you can actually design objects. There are many tools, for example, the loft, the decoration profile, and you know, stretch profiles and rotational solids.
Create your own.
Yes, which allows you to model your own things, or you can just download an object, you can explode that object and take one handle out of it and then just throw the rest if that's your intention. So this library here allows me to select something. I think I'll go with this, and the third page, this is where you determine how the unit anatomy is in action. Now the side panels are actually white panels now, which in my case it's just fine. But if I would like to distinguish the top panel for any reason, because for example on top of this we will use a worktop.
So you don't need the top of this.
Yeah, and I don't need the top of it. At least I don't need a full plate here. It's just waste of money to use that. So I just disable this option here because I don't want to clone the settings of the side panel. So instead of cloning it, I disable it, and then I can determine a custom panel. And this is the top corpus panel. This is something that the software offers by default, and then you can just say you would like to use anything else. The same happens if you set up the back panel. The back panel, again, I think in this case, okay, if you click here inside and you click and drag the content, you can just rotate this model. And then as you can see now, this is again, if it's not a freestanding unit, it's again, it could be a waste of money to use this thick
so
panel.
You could use another kind, maybe a thinner.
You can use a thinner, cheaper panel, or you can just skip this panel at all. So you can say that you don't want to see anything. Now again, I just disable this option. I don't want to clone the side panels. Instead of that, I would like to use a basic back panel or something else that I'm about to design now. So, okay, the bottom plate is, I think that's fine, and everything else is set up. So now we will quick jump to the doors. Later I will describe all these as well. Let's jump to the doors now, and I would like to add a door. In case of adding a door, you can decide the door layout. You can set the door overlay, whether it's full overlay or traditional. And also the software highlights the area
where the door is going to be added. So
yes.
Now if you add a door with the current settings, then it would add to the overall dimensions of the cabinet, right?
Yes, so if I'm doing that, then it's covering the whole unit. I will show you soon how you can make this different, but for now I think it's enough. Let's see what else can we do with this. I think I would like to change the position of this handle from the side to the top, and that should be here. As you can see, these are sub-pages of this page. The door page itself, the door setting page, has 4 sub-pages, and one of the sub-pages is about the handle itself. And also you can just select another handle, which in a complex unit would be meaningful. But now I just would like to use a custom position. Instead of this default position, I would like to use this here.
And in the middle. That's right.
Or anything else I can select from here. And let's say, okay, I'm satisfied with this, and at the end I can save it to the libraries of this software.
Okay, so what you are doing now is that later on when you want to define another base cabinet, then this would be your sample project, right?
Yes, this could be something that I can intentionally do because you know, this is a time saver. I already saved. I already set up what sort of front panel I would like to see. I already set up what sort of back panel, top panel, and so on. So I already made many decisions that I don't want to do over and over and over and over again. So it's worth saving this. And now I will click on Save As, and I say, okay, this will be something like, let's say this is webinar base unit 01, and I'm saving it over there into the kitchen library and into the base cabinet subcategory. And if I'm actually remodeling an existing unit, I can also set up the producer and all sort of other you know, BIM parameters if there's anything else that
you need to
I would like to add.
record,
Article number, description, and so on. I can even add my own parameters. So let's say I'm done with this unit. I click OK, and then from that point on, this goes into the library, and I will be able to pick this up. I say I would like to use this, and then I'm about to place it here. See, it's automatically snapping onto the wall where I'm positioning my mouse, and then I just would like to place it here. And then I can just simply go on and see now the software snaps them together because it understands.
So you cannot overlap them because it understands that it's the same kind of base cabinet, so they cannot overlap each other. So you can just put them down in a sort of array.
So they are actually auto snap to each other, and this is very helpful, not making any sort of mistake. Of course, if for any reason I would like to overlap them, then later I can just move them somewhere else, but now it's a useful thing. So let's say I would like to place 5 units here, and then I'm starting to customize them. So one workflow is that you build a unit, place it down, build another unit, place it down, build a third unit, and so on. You repeat these steps,
or you put them all down, and then later you can modify them one by one.
This is what I'm doing now. It's kind of a conceptual design, and then I'm customizing the units because I would like to see the same front, the same layout, just the inside will be different. So what I will change now, I will change this center unit. This center unit is something that I would like to have with a similar front, but instead of the door, which I'm about to erase now, so I go to the door page and see now it's highlighted in red. That means it's existing and it's selected, and then I can erase it. So this way I can get rid of this front, and then I can go to something else, like for example drawers, and in this drawers page I have these options to set up. For example, I would like to have 3 drawers, which is based on my selection here. And I would like to have a full over the single panel covering all the drawers. And then I click on create. And then actually from outside I have the same layout, but when I go to the first page here.
And you open them maybe slightly or fully, then.
Yeah, see now that's the difference. And this is how this operates, and the other door, if I would open it, it would have this hollow unit inside. So now this is a different unit. I close it, and again, if I want to, I can go there, save this unit as another, using another name. Now be careful. Now if you use an existing unit as a basis of your changes, take care not saving it and overriding it.
Overwrite it. That's right.
And instead of that, use the save as. If you make changes based on an existing unit, make sure you don't overwrite them, because that could make some surprise. So let's say I'm done with this again. I'm not saving it. I'm just saying okay, and then I'm ready with this unit. So this way you can actually customize, build up new units, even in case of some extremes. I mean, actually here I would like to erase this, remove this completely, and add a longer unit with some specific settings, because that will be a corner unit. It should have some part which is fixed where there's no door, and there should be another part with the really working door with an actual door. So one thing is that what I could do, I could remove this. I could go to the libraries, set up everything completely, but I would like to show you something new, and that's I'm actually going into the properties. I'm sorry, to changing the size. This unit will be a unit facing this way. So first things first, I rotate it. So its door should face the proper direction, as you can see over there.
And now you're just going to resize it or stretch it.
I can resize it by clicking on its width value. Now I know already that what unit I want has a width with 1.1. So I'm actually just retyping the value, and when I say enter, that the unit is stretched. Now it's not in the proper position because of the rotation, so I should click here and I should click on move, and I should snap it to the corner point. So this way it's in the proper position with the proper size. The one thing that is not correct is the door. Now if I would open this would open into the others, because there is a full door here. Let's just check that. If I go into the settings, see, this is the unit, and if I'm opening it, the whole front is opening, and this is something that I don't want. I would like to split it half and make one part fixed and the other part only operable. So I close this back. I actually erased this door again, so I could go there and erase it, but let me show you a shortcut. If you click on a door holding the Alt key on your keyboard, this way the software jumps to that unit, jumps to that part of the unit, and you don't have to find what is that. This could be a drawer front as well.
So it recognizes the particular element and it jumps to the place where you can edit it.
Yes. Actually, the same happens if I alt-click on the side, if I alt-click on the top, if I alt-click on the front. This way, the software right away jumps to that unit part and allows you to either change the layout or completely remove that part. Now, this part here, as you can see, is one whole. That means it's as it's highlighted in green, it's not divided. If you would like to add any sort of visible or not visible
maybe
division,
just a logical division. Maybe on one side you want to have drawers, and the other side you want to have an openable door.
Yes.
So
yeah,
how does that work?
This is on the first page. This is the dividers page. The divider page allows you to either set up a vertical, horizontal, or multiple vertical, horizontal, or even custom shaped division. And when you say you would like to position it to 0.5 from the right, create, the software will divide the unit. This is by default how it works, but now I actually don't want to have this panel here. I would like to be able to reach this part of the unit when I open this door, which I would like to place here, and I would like to cover this part with a fixed panel. So to get rid of this here, instead of using a shelf, which in this case is a vertical divider, I should use only division. And then this is a vertical division. This is only setting up two sides, and then I can go to the doors page, and now I can select one of these, we call them zones. Yeah, I can select this zone, and I can tell the software, okay, this part should have a fixed door which won't open ever, and I click create, and the software creates that. I can come here
on the other side and you add the door which opens to the right, maybe.
Yes, and I say okay, create, and I can even change the same way. I can change how it has its handle. Also, something that I sometimes cover here is that well, actually this unit is nice, but again, because no one ever sees this panel, it's kind of, again, waste of money to use this expensive panel here. So what I'm doing now, I alt click here, and see, now it's telling me that this is a fixed panel, which is fine.
Yes.
But on this sub page, I'm about to disable that. I don't want to use the default setting. Instead of that, I would like to use a white front, for example. That's a cheaper panel, for example, and then it's also something that works fine. Okay, let's say I'm done, and again, I just do this same step, but now I would like to have a unit with drawers, with three visible drawers in the front. So I already have a unit which has something similar. So I just make a copy of this, move a copy. Also, I'm rotating that 90 degrees. Then I'm picking up the corner, saying move it here. And again, if I know what's the size, I could click here and I could just change the size. But if I don't know, but I already have some visual clue, a wall corner or something like that, then I can click on the side and I can say change width. And then graphically, I can move my mouse someplace and then I can click there. Now it tells me it's 0.8. So that's also something useful. Either you know the width and you type it, or you visually change its width, depth, and height the same way. Now let's just go deeper into the settings and change it. This is a unit with 3 shelves. Just the front
you want to have
is
a
not
separate shelving system here.
So I'm going here and I'm saying that this is one with multiple fronts, and then I go and set up the number. It's 3 now. And I can set up the distance. The first distance is the top distance. That's actually the gap between the top and the division. And this should be, in my case, I think it was 0.15.
Maybe a smaller one for the cutlery and the bigger ones.
Yeah, like that. And now I can change other values, but now when I say, okay, to create, then the software places it there. And as you can see, it will place the unit as I left it out. I mean, I decided to make it open, and now it's open in the 3D. If I go back to the settings and I go to the first page and I close it back, it will close it back in the 3D as well. So it's not just a visual designer tool. This way you can literally open them up and you can close them the way you want, which is very useful if you would like to do it with multiple selection. You can actually select 2 or 3 items And then at the left-hand side, see there is the 3D representation, and here you can make them all totally open or all totally closed, and this will result in a view like this. Now let's just undo that, and I think now I should create
I think one question from my part before we move on, because I think this applies for the cabinets. We are going to talk about appliances later on, but what happens if you want to turn one of these cabinets into, let's say, a dishwasher?
Well, one way I could do that is that I go to the settings of a unit, and there was this page with the appliances. There is also a dishwasher unit, there's built-in oven and so on, which I could, determine where it is, what's the size and so on. But actually we already have a unit like that here. So I will now just go to the object library and I will search for units. This material that we use today is part of a workshop, so I will use WS for workshop because these are part of that project, and I will use these, and I actually have a dishwasher unit which I can grab and release, and then I can just place it anywhere on my drawing. If I do this, I'm releasing it over an empty part of the page, then I can create a new unit. Now I hit escape because I would like to show you a trick. If you drag and release it over an existing unit, an edge of an existing unit, then something different will happen. This way you can actually replace that existing unit with the one that you have selected. Now you can say that you would like to keep all the dimensions. All you want to do is just to change the unit. So whatever the original unit size was, use it here and change it to match this existing unit. This is what I'm doing now. And what we see, it's not that much of a change, but if I zoom in, as you can see here, now this is a different unit.
Or you could also open it and take a look inside.
Yeah, let's just do that quickly. So this is how it looks like now.
Perfect. So what about worktops? How do we position them? Do we have to sketch them manually and then overlap them on the cabinets, or?
Yeah, well, there are two ways how you can create the worktop. One is that you use this countertop and countertop by cabinets. This allows you to select cabinets, and it's a good thing when you have a continuous row of things. But now I actually have a gap there, so I would like to use this countertop by profile. And this way I can actually design the path of this worktop, which is good in this scenario, and it's also good when my worktop is not covering or it's actually overhanging someplace my unit, so they're not fully covering the whole layout. I can click there and then I can create a like a J shape or something like that. But now I'm just hitting enter to tell the software I'm done. And then the software recognizes all the units, and it uses those units wireframe view as a helper, as a guide to make me able to set up where several parts of this worktop should be. Now this worktop is at the same position, so it's fine, but if for any reason it would have the wrong position, I should go to the last page, and that's actually where I can change its elevation.
So you can elevate it a bit.
Now, if I change the main sizes of this, I can change the width, the thickness, all these here. I can go and change the, of course, I did not mention that you can, of course, change the material of it. You can go to this page where you can set up the joints of the panels. Now I have two panels, and as you can see, they are equally connected. There is no stronger element, and I can change it either this layout or this layout,
or maybe
no joint.
The joint as it is.
I think I will use this, and then you can go forward and you can select objects as sink or any other unit here. Now this page with the sink unit, this page allows you to select predefined items. The software is shipped with these, or you can also go to, for example, 3D Warehouse or other pages, or the Sanitaryware module, and you can download additional items, and then you can use them just the same as I do here. When you select something like a unit like this here, by default telling this unit where it should land initially, this is the selection here. If I'm clicking here and I click create, it will be placed somewhere here. If I click here and I click create, it will be placed somewhere.
How do we
here.
control where we want it?
Now when I place it, the software actually usually places it at the left side of it. It centers the unit center and the edge, and then you can, from there you can either use this this button to, you know, move it, or I can actually type a value. Like I know it's around 0.8 where it should be. Let's create update. Let's click on update. Well, it's not that much bad, but I should move it a little bit forward to the right. So I just click a few times here, and then I check the front layout. Well, maybe I should move it a little bit further, but that's how you can position it.
Yeah, so visually you can position it. That's very helpful.
Yeah, that's it. Then also you can add a kitchen tap, which is here. This is a default object, but again, you can download objects and you can use those objects here. The point here is that after you place that unit, let me just zero this out. This would be the default position of it. And actually, I just zero these values out as well. So it would land somewhere. And then you can decide to either rotate it, and then see these, you know, axis.
Markers.
Markers in the main axis. This is what you can find here as well. So if you see that you should move this unit to the left along this red angle or axis, you can just, again, either use a value here or you know, just visually tweak it. The same way I can dial up this green direction here. Perfect. So that's how you can set it up.
How about we add maybe a cooker or something on it?
That's with the same method in mind. You can click on the hub unit page. You can decide where you would like to make it land. I would like to place it someplace here. Again, you can select an object. I think I will go with this one, and then let's just create. And again, it lands here, but you can move it someplace else. Let's just make it 1.45. Let's see if I like that. Well, it's quite good, but I think I should move it a little bit more to the right, and then I think that's it. It's centered nicely. So this way you can add these to that. One another thing that you can customize, but ship with the software, these objects, they already handle this, but you can actually customize the cutout under them. So you can either draw the cutting contour, or you can just set up, like in this case, you can set up an offset where the software should place this cutout. This fifth page here allows you to design any sort of custom cut, any place on this or this panel, and then also you can set up like a splashback or, you know, a nose here. I think I will use a rectangular splashback with a height of 0.4 and with a width of only a centimeter, like this. And then I change its material. Wherever you see something like this with a little paint bucket, it's always for the material. So I just select this. I think this will be something like a glossy surface, so I will go with this one. I do not use this nosing here, so I just disable that, but
then
you
again,
are allowed
you can add
to do
any
that.
kind of cross-sectional profile you want.
Yeah. And at the end, again, you can just set up what sort of layer you would like to see, what sort of contour color, and so on. And then at the end, you can also save this if you like this setting and you don't want to start from zero when you design something similar next time. So with this one, you can save it. So let's say, okay, I'm done with this unit, and
so
I think
it's built into the 3D right away. And then what's next? Maybe there's something on the left-hand side we can still add.
Yeah, what we did not cover this time is, I think I will change the layout a little bit so we can see that better. Here there are tall units. Now, the same way I have designed the base units, I can design a taller unit, I can divide that, place doors, so I won't waste time with that now. But what I would like to focus on now, some sort of difference that you can set up. So I actually just look for the same items, and I will just quickly furnish this part using, I think the first one is the roll-up cabinet, this here. Let's just match it. The other one should be this oven unit. There should be this narrow unit.
These are all predefined, right?
Yeah, these are all predefined. You can actually find these when you download any of our tutorial materials and you install them. These will be part of the software right away. And I think this is the last one that I should place it here. And then I have this this layout here. Now, if I would like to make some sort of variance here, and I don't want to use this wooden panel everywhere, but instead of that, let's use a white panel or something like that. I can just actually drag a panel that I already have. Either I just designed or I just use the library items. I click here and I drag and drop this panel. Sorry, I double clicked on it. So I just drag and drop it here, and then I can use these options. Now I would like to use it as a
texture or just the front. That's the so you have the choice here.
Actually, that's a good question. This is not just a texture; it's a front. So if this front has a different layout, if it has a bevels or something like that, then this is coming with all of those things. Now it seems like I'm just changing the carcass front with the material, but actually it's changing the fronts themselves. So this is what I do. Change this part here, and then I think I should customize this. But first things first, let me show you how this works here. If I click here, and see this is the page which I did not describe yet. It's the appliances. If I alt click here, this reveals that this is actually, well, this was designed with the door, but you can actually go there and select a built-in oven, or any sort of other unit that you would like to build into this item. So going back here, here I would like to show you how you can use the divisions and create something even more complex than this one. Let's see. I'm going into the details of this unit. I alt click onto the bottom and I erase this. And then this existing part, see, now not the full front is green, now only this part is green. First things first, how I can navigate through these. If I click on this button, which is a little arrow pointing up, it's kind of an exit arrow. If I click on this, I can go back to the first
one
zone.
Level, right?
Yeah,
so
one
you
level.
Navigate between levels of details here.
Yeah, if I click here again, I go back to that sub zone. If I go above, then I'm at the, let's say it's a parent zone. If I click here, I can go to the sub zone. So and I can actually change between the zones by just simply clicking on them. The difference is the color of their icon. The color in red represents that I will go into some place where it is already divided or it has already something in it. And now that something is a door because I'm on the door page. So this here does not contain any door, which is very much visible here now, but if I go here, I can actually divide it either halfway, or I can set up a value. Now this value, I remember correctly, it should be 0.28. Let's create a division. So that means this is measured here.
So now if you want to create, let's say, a bottle holder or anything like that, then you are going to click on that section in the middle, that's right?
Onto this one.
And then you are just keep on adding more divisions, right?
Yeah, and I'm about to set up where it should be. I can either decide it with a percentage slider here, so that divides it half-half, or I can just as before, I can just set up the value, and then I click here, and the software divides it, and then I can go to that sub zone which I have just created, and I can add, so for example, multiple vertical divisions, right. Perhaps only 2 now. I think that's just prettier, and I just repeat the same thing over here. So easily and very quickly you can divide the units into sub-units and sub-units and sub-units, and then using these navigators here, you can just go out until you reach the top, and then you can go down and into the subcategory, into the subcategory, into the subcategory to do whatever you wish to do with them. So for example, if I would like to place a door only in front of this part here, I can click onto this zone here.
Going back to the door panels.
Yeah.
And that's right. Okay.
And making sure only this part is green, I can click create, and then I have a door unit here. So that's it. And this way I have a completely new unit based on an existing one, just with a custom division that I have just defined at the center of this part.
What if you want to create something more customized? Now we started from base units, which we tweaked into something else, but what happens if you want to have a very a stranger, maybe L-shaped unit, maybe a wall-mounted shelving? How would that work?
Well, in that case, what I would do, remember we talked about the size of the unit, but that's only the size if you design a cubicle unit. if you go to the settings of a unit, let me just customize this here first. And we did not discuss this page here. This page is about the shape of it. If I select this shape, see, it's just redesigning the unit, trying to keep as much as possible, and then you can actually go with custom shapes and you can pick up a shape like that. Or even you can go and select something that you have designed. So let me show you how this was created. So I will just go and say, okay, yeah. And then I'm about to design a unit here. Let me just quickly measure what was the original size of this. I'm going to dimension and measure and distance, and this should be 0.3, and I have space here for 1.2, and I think the height was 0.8 around. So what I'm about to do now, I'm going to the interior cabinet, and then here, first, on the first page, I'm removing the legs. And this will be actually a wall unit.
Again, this is better for the calculations, to position it as a logical selector.
Yes, the width should be 1.2, the depth should be 0.3, and the total height, I think maybe 0.8, or we can even keep this original value. So this is still rectangular. If I'm going to the shape page here and I select custom, then now instead of selecting this one, I'm about to show you that if you would like to create a new one, it's not existing here, then you click add object, and then this 3D shape dialog comes up. This 3D shape allows you to set up an object with the basic size and the basic 3 main contours of it. So the basic size will be the width, the depth, and the height. And the front shape should not be rectangular, but instead of that, I would like to either define my own profile, so literally drawing a profile on the layout, or I'm about to modify this one, and I click here, and then I say, okay, let's divide it here, let's divide it here, and let's just move this part to here, and then that's the new shape. And this way, this is how this shape was created. So when I selected, the software will apply the settings on that panel, and then I can go on and make, for example, a division, because here I would like to divide it half.
It's not exactly there, so
yeah.
How do you position that?
Yes, now the problem is that, as you mentioned, that this is not matching here. And why is that? There is 2 reasons to that. The first is that the middle, first things first, when you divide something, you can either decide to divide the remaining part or the front, which makes it a little bit different when you set up these values here. But actually here, the most important part is that I'm positioning this shelf with its center line. If I'm positioning it with the top shelf, then it's matching perfectly. I'm clicking create, and now I have something like this. And then I can, again, just divide this here. I think this should be 0.4, and so on. So from that point on, everything is just the same. Here I will add flip-up door. Let's create. And here I'm adding another flip-up door. See, now I have forgotten setting up the door front. So now the default door front is in action. And then what happens if I'm about to change this? So first things first, again, I can just place it and then find that panel and drop it over and just change it just as I did here. But here's the difference. If you go here, that before you place it, again, you can just do the same. You can just select the same family, and then this way you can do the same thing.
That's right. That's good.
It's okay. Again, I can save it. I should not forget to set up the relative height. I think it's about 1.4, perhaps. And let's just click create, and then I'm matching it with the original drawing. Perfect. And like that.
So perhaps now we want to maybe import a more advanced stage of this model, and let's see how the visual design comes into the picture.
And one more thing I would like to show you, if I think because this is very smart, if you go to the objects, and let's say I would like to add the hood here. This hood is actually named Workshop Hood, and I'm about to just click and drag, and see, I cannot place it here now. I should be able, but for
how
some
come?
reason I cannot. And it's because, see, the value, the base offset is at 0.
Oh yes.
So now the software understands that there is another object at the same level. So if I place it, then they want, one of them will just occupy the same space. So I think it's a good helper. Well, if I would like to still do that, I can just place it here and then move it inside. But I think this is very smart. So I can just click here and say, okay, this should be, I believe it's 1.6. So I will change it later if it's not fine. And then I click and drag it again, and now it allows me to place it all on top of the unit. So now I have something like this.
I see, perfect. So again, this could come from the 3D warehouse or BIMobject or any of other object libraries.
Yes. So what I do now, let's make a listing first, and then I will do the
Okay, so let's do the quantity takeoff.
the visual. Yeah, I think I just would like to change the order now, because the visual sometimes it breaks our webinar a little bit. So
Oh
I
yes,
just would
it's
like
going
to
to be
just
very
keep it.
demanding on our computer.
Yeah.
So let's do the things that we can at this point. So let's
Yeah.
see how we can get some quantity takeoffs and calculations, because last time we showed that for the tiling, but what happens if you want to get the same kind of information for the cabinets?
Now the cabinets are listed at the same place. It's in the documentation and it's quantity takeoff, and you should select Excel list. And in case of Excel list, you should go with the interior calculation. Now this allows you to select what sort of things you would like to list. Now if this would be filled up with any sort of other objects, you can list them as well. But now I'm about to focus only on the cabinet doors, countertops, and I will just skip the rest now, because there's not that much now. And if I created things with BIM parameters, I can also enable this part here, and then I say, okay, let's go on and create this consignation, and this should be a consignation of a kitchen. So I'm just naming it accordingly. And then if you have Excel installed on your computer, then right away when the software generates the Excel file, it will open it up in an Excel, and then you can select. First things first, always you see the project parameters. It's like a summary, and then you go to the subpage of the furniture summary, which lists the units, and then the furniture detailed, which lists the units with an image, and also with some sort of details like whatever else I used here. So I think this is how you can make a listing of these units. And before I continue to load this final stage, let me show you one more thing, because I actually did not talk about that. One thing is that, first things first, when you design a worktop, you can still select it and go and select its edge and make it longer, for example. The same way, actually, you can click on the unit and use this component mode, and then you can reach all the edges. You can actually do something like this. You can even round it off like that.
I see. This also works when you use the Alt key and
yeah. Actually, if you alt click on a worktop, instead of the regular selection, it right away jumps into this component mode. And one another thing that I wanted to show, it's the decoration, how you can add a plinth. Now plinth allows you to select units like this, and it will actually generate plinths.
Yes, see it on the 3D that there's already a plinth generated.
There's a plinth, but this actually generated two plinths. So if I'm about to customize these, I can change its height, I can change its length. I can click here and just do like this, and I can change its length here, and then click here and append a line and make a longer part, for example here. Or there is another tool which allows me to actually literally design the path of something like that, and it's in the sweep, and it's called sweep or molding, and actually the loft is doing pretty much the same. So there are several options. Sometimes it's just simply easier to select the existing parts and then generate something, and then customize it to, I don't know, perhaps move it a little bit more to the front and so on, and then this way I just customize the whole thing. Again,
these are the things that you can do both in the 2D and 3D views as well. Use whichever is more convenient.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
So
let's
now,
see.
now I'm about to load the final version.
Yes, let's see a final version of this project and talk a little bit about visual design. One thing that comes to my mind when we're working on this particular design is that if you don't want to work with all the elements, you can turn off the layers where they belong. And I think that will happen. That's what happened in this particular design as well, because the things that we didn't need it at that point were just simply hidden, so we didn't have to work with all these elements what you can see here now.
Yes, actually, as you can see here now, this is a way more detailed version of this kitchen, with also this dining area and the living room area already decorated and fully furnished. And what you talked about, it's you can do that thing here on the 2D layout by opening up. I think this is the fastest tool by using the layer walk, and this allows you to pick up parts and decide whether they are visible, they should be visible or not. And if you, I don't know, let me just disable this and this and this and this, see, they are disappearing here from the 2D, and when I hit OK and I regenerate the 3D, they will disappear also from the 3D as well. I'm just about to do a render as well. Rendering is pretty much as the same as before. You set up lights, you set up materials. We will actually cover this part the next session.
Yes.
And then when you are done with those things, you can create a rendered version of it. I think I will just keep it easy and I will go with a lower resolution now. But other than that, I do not change anything else. I just use a quicker renderer and I click on Start Rendering.
Perfect. So while this system is working, let's talk about what happens next time when we meet. As you said, we are going to look at some rendering related issues, and that would actually mean more like how to set up the proper lights, how to handle renderings, and most importantly, what are the things on which the rendering result depends. So this is a very, very important question, is that how to set up your model, what are the biggest factors. We don't want to spoil it, but it's going to be mostly lights and material setups, but I think there's much more to that.
Yes, yes. So actually we will cover this part in detail. Now I'm just about to show you one render, and I will actually terminate this render after a few seconds, because this is very demanding,
on the CPU,
heavily CPU intensive, and we know already that sometimes the webinar is just breaking the image. So I just hit stop now. And then you see this is the first few seconds version of the final image, which we will teach you next time, 2 days later, how you can fully render.
That's right. So see you this Thursday on the 19th, same time, 3 p.m. Central European time, where we talk about the details on how to get something like this. Until then, thank you very much for your attendance, and see you on Thursday.
See you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.